Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Emergence, a great episode. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. I always like that in shows where it's like everyone knows the truth about like some big secret and it gets revealed to everyone. I love that like literally the entire family now knows. And I love that out of anyone, Mia is taking it the best because she's like, she's asking Piper's like, are you okay? Did it hurt or anything? And it's like, no, but like, you know, were you worried and stuff like that? And for her, like, because, Piper's scared of like, maybe things will be different now, because now she knows what she is and everything. But then, Mia comforting her, being like, no, and like everything looks the same to me, kind of basically being like, no, despite everything, we're going to be still like sisters and everything. Like, ah. And then like everyone on the inside, you got Abby, Alex, and Ed losing their minds about like, wait, what? Because even Alex is like, there's no way she can't tell me what? There's no way, that's not possible. But it's like, yep. And it's like, I wasn't supposed to Piper wasn't supposed to know what she is. Now she does because, what was it supposed to do? It was basically supposed to destroy her. And then it's like, then why didn't it? And I liked, Joe's explanation of like, the reason why it didn't destroy her, because for whatever reason, Piper didn't want it to. So I think it was the thing of like, she maybe on some level knew what it was going to do to her. And she was like, nah, stop it. And just basically shut down the program from affecting her. She now knows the truth without it destroying who she was, because she likes who she was, because she didn't want to be taken away from her family. I mean, I think maybe subconsciously she created countermeasures in her own mind. You could almost think it just as her sheer will of heart. They always want to stay with this family because she loves this family. She cares for this family. They care for her. So she wanted to stay and not leave. And that intense emotion basically, like I said, subconsciously blocked the effect of basically destroying her. But like I said, maybe subconsciously her programming created a firewall protection the last time Emily tried to control her. So maybe that's why she was kind of prepared for this. Because that's what I was wondering. I was like, who did this? I didn't think it was Emily because Emily was in FBI custody. But I guess she set this up ahead of time. Like before Joe got to her, like she had already set that in motion. So it was already kind of at play by the time, Joe caught up to her. But I thought that was so interesting. And now it's Mia walking in and telling everyone, I was like, yeah, you guys need to, Piper is out there, she's tired and everything, we're going to go to bed, but you guys need to get your head on straight about this situation. It is what it is, let's move on. It's like, yeah, it's kind of interesting. It took the teenager kind of kicking everybody's butts in line to be like, yo, this is what it is, accept it, moved on. And even love Ed being like, yeah, it ain't ever wanted to know what Joe was like as a teenager slash kid herself. There's a mirror image right there. So I thought that was kind of an adorable moment of like them all kind of dealing with this realization about it. Then obviously Ed telling, Abby, it's like, oh yeah, he's looking into other options when it comes to this cancer. And she's like, oh, she's getting excited. He's like, no, don't get too ahead of yourself. But, someone had referred to him to someone else. The moment he's meeting with someone, I was like, it's going to be the lady from the hotel that killed Alan, isn't it? And lo and behold, it's her, Helen. I was like, wow. And now she's presenting like, oh, like this isn't just going to, treat you where you have like a small percentage chance of surviving. It's like, oh, this gives you like we're presenting you not just a treatment, an actual cure, just like a 96% chance of, curing him and that stuff like that. But obviously, I love that Ed ends up revealing it later on. It's like, oh no, I knew it was too good to be true, because it's like, oh, we'll find some other payment plan. I was like, okay, you made that seem super ominous, but I was actually surprised that she straight up said it to Ed, because Ed was like, yeah, they want Piper for him to cure. I'm like, that's so interesting. I would have never expected you to be so upfront, but I guess it makes sense because they think probably Ed's so desperate to be cured of his sickness that he's willing to throw Piper under the bus for it. But it's like, no, like the fact of the matter is he's come to care for that little girl as much as Joe and everyone else has, so he'd never do that. I even love that Alex is sitting there watching Mia and Piper, because Mia's working on like homework or whatever, and she's trying to explain stuff to Piper, and Piper's like, yeah, I got it. And she's like, no, and you see Alex's head going like shaking his head like, oh, listen to this comedy duo over here. And then Mia's like, how can you not get it? Aren't you supposed to be like a calculator? Or aren't you supposed to be like a computer or something like that? I love it. It's like, we're just going to need to get a regular calculator. It was kind of an adorable moment. I love it. but obviously Alex kind of playing into like pretending, because obviously Joe got super pissed the moment she's like, oh, because for her it's like, not only are you trying to get Piper, you're trying to drag my father into this, like, trying to tempt him with like some form of a cure. It's like, no, you crossed the line. You're trying to take my other daughter from me, and you're using my dad to do it. Nah, not today. Like, Joe got pissed. It's like, the fact of the matter is, you crossed the line. You really messed up, and you're going to pay the price for it. I'm like, yo, because even Alex is like, damn, when he saw Joe get so heated. But I did like the whole Alex, setting up the whole situation. I thought that was kind of fascinating. I figured as much. Like, there's no way Alex is going to betray them after all of this and stuff. But I thought it was so interesting. I even love him later on celebrating it, because he's like, yeah, look at me. I'm all espionage. Like, look at me kind of, acting all deep cover and stuff. I thought that was kind of, fascinating in the long run. But, yeah, like that whole kind of ploy to kind of get Helen, basically. And it was so interesting because it's like, Piper's better off with us. It's like, you guys have done a great job taking care of her and give her a loving home, but the fact of the matter is, this is kind of going back to where she belongs. But Alex brings up an interesting point of like, I saw the place you had her in, that fake neighborhood, and I wouldn't even send a dog that I liked to that place. But it's like, that was Augur Industries doing that. Don't compare what we plan to do with what they had to do. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Part of me was thinking like, oh, that's just like new management trying to be like, oh, that was how old management handled things. We're handling things so differently. Like, if I had to make a nerdy reference, it's like, new Yevon versus old Yevon, essentially, like Final Fantasy X to Final Fantasy X-2, that whole thing. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But regardless, me and my tangents. I always wonder when I make references like that, how many people who might come across this recording might actually get will that reference mean anything? But I'm wondering, is it kind of like new branding? Is kind of what I thought the whole Augur situation was. But in the grand scheme of things, we do know that Augur's being blown up. So I wasn't really sure where. I mean, we knew that obviously Helen was connected to all this, but I didn't know like where she stood in all of this necessarily. Because basically Chris looked into this and found out, like, basically it's kind of a whispering group known as Splinter. They're basically a cyber terrorist group that kind of goes after big like tech businesses or something like that. Hence, like, they're going after Augur. So I wonder, is it that type of? Well, I'll circle back to it later on. My suspicions about what their whole deal really is, but it was kind of interesting. It's like, okay, so we got to worry about Splinter and all that. So it's like, okay, Alex is going undercover and everything, which also there's a conversation about Ed. I skipped over about Ed. I thought was kind of fascinating, where basically Ed was like, the reason why he changed his mind was looking for other options, because if something as amazing as Piper can exist, something he would have never thought possible, then maybe he doesn't think, maybe things aren't as black and white as he thought. Like, basically he thought like, hey, my deal is clear cut. Like, even if I get chemo and all this, it's only going to give me a % chance. So most likely it's going to buy me a little bit more time, but the end result is the same. This sickness is eventually going to kill me. But now, like, seeing that something like Piper can exist makes him kind of get more hopeful that, hey, maybe there's another avenue, that maybe there are other options out there. Well, she even had this super adorable moment between Piper and everything, because she's like, yeah, I heard the talk. It's like, you don't, why don't you, they promised to give you a cure. And he's like, the fact of the matter is, I didn't even have to think about it. I'd never trade you for that. But she's like, but the fact of the matter is, don't you want to get better? Which he was like, yeah, I do. But obviously it's like, not if it means, Piper being the price. And I thought it was super adorable. And I love him be like, how'd you hear? She's like, yeah, I heard all that. And he was like, do you have super hearing or something? She's like, no, I have regular hearing. I was like, oh, this is super adorable. And they're laying back and everything. And she's like, okay, so I'll find something. She's like, maybe I can figure it out. And he's like, all right, okay, maybe. She's like, I'm gonna start thinking now and trying to find a way to kind of cure you. I was like, and then her leaning on him and everything. I'm like, that's so adorable. It's like grandpa and granddaughter to a certain extent. It's just, I don't know, it's just adorable family moments. I thought was kind of, pretty neat. Some other elements to that I really liked is the fact is that, Brooks is, a dog with a bone, because obviously he's trying to get in contact with Joe, but Joe is avoiding him like the plague. Then there's the whole situation with him visiting Benny, and I love that he's like, oh, hey, neighbor, and everything. I was like, wow. And Benny kind of quickly picks it up. It's like, you're that agent. He's like, yeah, you got me, Ryan Brooks. I'm like, oh, dude, this dude, he smells something. He like I said, he's like a dog with a bone, and I thought that was so fascinating. Him kind of trying to like, oh, so what are you working on? It's like, oh yeah, the stuff about Joe. It's interesting. You wrote about Piper. Something. It's like, no, just trying to help some girl find her parents. Oh, really? Huh? And I was like, he definitely knows something's up there, but he's not letting on. And obviously, Benny isn't either. Like, all right. So we see him later on talking to Emily, which Emily is under the impression, because it's like Emily's like, I lost someone that was important to me. I was like, and even he brought up her dad, and she was like, no, I'm not talking about him. Which is like, oh, so once again, she hasn't heard. I mean, to be fair, I'm sure Joe probably kept that secret on purpose. I mean, why would that information go back to Emily? No one would tell. Like, the only person, Brooke knew nothing at the time about it, so why would he tell Emily about, like, Piper? Like, he doesn't know that connection and stuff like that. But Emily is under the impression she killed Piper. I'm curious to see what that means in the long run when it turns out she's like, wait, Piper's still alive? I wonder, is that going to rejuvenate her and be like, wait, there's still a chance? But it's like, well, the fact is, while she had the chance, like, Piper didn't choose you, and now that you tried to kill her, she's less likely to choose you. So I'm curious to see what that would do to Emily finding out that Piper's still alive. But I love the fact is that she ends up spilling the beans to Brooks, which Brooks contacts Joe about it, and they have a very frank conversation because he's like, yeah, sit down and talk to me. And she's like, no, not without my lawyer. And he's like, basically, the fact is you lied to an FBI agent. This could be serious, issues. So it's like, okay, off the records. All right, let's sit down and talk. And basically he reveals of like, Piper isn't human, right? Which is so interesting that in the grand scheme, I guess the reason why Emily told him the truth is because it's like, it was her way to kind of get back at Joe, because it's like, I lost my daughter, and the fact of the matter is, it's all Joe's fault. So it's like, I guess that was her way to kind of give like one middle finger to Joe, just to kind of punish her for the fact is, it's because of you I had to destroy my own daughter. So, because I just thought that was interesting that Emily would choose that time to kind of bring that up, But what's really interesting, too, is that the fact of the matter is this all has to deal with that group Splinter, but it turns out Brooks is actually looking into this group. He actually knew about this group before coming here, because apparently Joe, had looked into it, and basically the FBI's been looking into this group for the past, 15 years. So I'm like, oh, that's super fascinating. So kind of, I guess, setting up our true potential main antagonist, and what that means in the grand scheme of things, we'll kind of have to wait and see. But it is a whole like, okay, we'll make this a dual operation. The fact is, you take down, you arrest this Helen lady, and then we're done. Piper never gets dragged into all of this ever again. It's kind of a one-time 12-hour deal, like, let's make this happen. And obviously, I love that super cute moment of like, Joe is kind of worried. It's like, she's kind of pacing back and forth, because obviously, like, putting Alex in the fire of this whole situation, obviously she didn't want that, and she's worried about it the entire time. She's like, no, and Alex is trying to be like, no, it's okay. She's like, no, we can find another way. And it's like, no, this is what I want to do. Like, because obviously for him this means protecting people he cares about. So obviously if he can do his own part in this whole situation, of course he's going to do it. But obviously once again, that rekindling of flames, they had their issues, but now the truth is all out there, and kind of understanding why Joe kept the secret and everything. We see a little bit of that rekindling when she's kind of helping, like, put on, like, I even love him being like, oh, has someone else had this earpiece in their ear before? And Joe is like, kind of like, maybe. And it's just kind of like, because he's like, if so, this is not hygienic, this is actually disgusting. But it's like, go ahead and do it. He's like, all right. I even love it being in the car. He's busting into a song, and literally Chris, Ryan, and Joe can all hear him and everything. And I was like, yeah, because I love that, because it's very like Donald Faison, especially because I think there's a part of my brain that kind of immediately think of Turk. Because, and I feel so bad, because there's always that thing when you know an actor for something so well, because that's like one of the characters I've known him best for. It was Turk. I've spent the most time with him as Turk, so I'm always going to associate him. And I think, there's always probably going to be a little bit of Donald Faison in Turk, a little, so probably what we saw in Turk was probably a lot of his own personality, to a certain degree. Obviously, I think Turk is a lot, probably much more like, obviously amplified version of himself, but regardless, once again, tangents and all of that. But the deal doesn't go down the way they hoped that it will. I guess they knew that things were going to go sideways. Then there was that moment. It's like, oh, Benny brought over some food. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna bribe you with food and stuff like that. And he's like, all right, that worked. Come in. And I love that moment of like, Benny's like, yeah, I never got to thank you for what happened, and I never meant to cause any problems in your house. It's like, no, I get it, and you're welcome. And I love like, Piper being like, the fact of the matter is, he didn't like you before, but he does now. And Benny's like, yeah, I know he does. The fact is, this entire family, they love you. You love them. And I know that they love you too. And she's like, yeah, but I don't think it's real. Because she starts thinking like maybe everything about her is a program. So it's like, how do I know that the love I have for this family is real? And it's Benny's like, oh, it's just as real as anyone. I mean, when you actually break it down, once again, human beings are basically programs too, when you actually really want to think about it. Because once again, our brains are always compared to computers anyway. So I think it was kind of nice that Benny was making a comparison of like, no, the fact of the matter is you're not really that different from, how does that make you any different from anyone else in that? So, which we'll get to that in a second. But there was some part of my brain that was like, there's not, it did, I was like, I won't lie to you. There was a part of my brain that was like, did Benny get offered something? Is that what that is? I was like, there's some part of me that's like waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was like, maybe they offered Benny something and he's willing. And I was like, no, maybe not. He is about getting to the truth and everything. Well, but regardless, deal went sideways. Helen decides to jump into the water. Because she's like, no, like, and she said the interesting thing was like, you guys did a great job looking after Piper, but she belongs with us. It's kind of like, almost kind of like, things will end sadly if you keep Piper, like, because that's not where she belongs. You can't like help her the way we can. I'm like, what is that? So it's like, oh no, we got to get the family out of the house because they could be targeting them. So Benny, get everybody out of the house. At the moment she's getting to the police station, I was like, they're not there. Something happened. It's like, oh, they're here. I was like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. And it's like, oh, there's Mia and Ed. It's like, yo, so where's Benny and Piper? Wait, what are you talking about? They're not here? It's like, I was like, no. My boy Benny has been playing the long game the entire time. I was like, no. And you can see it rocks Joe, because like Benny was the first person she trusted. Like they were hand in hand in this investigation. That was always like her right hand person throughout everything. He always knew the truth in everything. And for it to come down to this, that was so heartbreaking. For her, it's like the person I trust stabbed me in the back. It's like put an APB out on him or whatever. And it's like, holy crap. So I guess they're setting Brooks up to be kind of the new Benny, that the person she can trust. I did not, like I said, I had that inkling, but I was like, I'm probably thinking too much. That still shocked me. Like I said, even with that in my head, it still shocked me to be like, oh wow, so Benny was kind of the bad guy. I was like, you're playing, I was like, you must, like, did they offer you something? Like, what are you getting out of this? And it's like, why are you doing this? And then Helen shows up. I'm like, you were in the water? Like, oh, I'm actually surprised. But I guess like, I was like, maybe you were well trained and you were just able to get out of water. I was like, what is this all about? But then it's like, yeah, Joe and them, they take care of you. They loved you, obviously. But back, you don't have to be afraid. With us is where you belong. I was like, wait, you're not about to start. And he starts glowing. I was like, you're one too. And then so was Helen. I was like, wait, is that what Splinter's about? And that's where my brain starts going into overdrive. So it's like, okay, so is that why you go after tech companies? Because you're trying to go after these tech companies that disrespect technology, that basically basically technology yourself. Like, so someone else built you guys, maybe we're dealing with like some alien sentience thing of like, maybe Benny and Helen are actually aliens that came to this planet, but basically, because obviously because that's why Alan had to die, because why Helen killed him, because it's like, oh, you stole something from us. So I'm thinking he took the technology that was there inside of he used that and made Piper. So it wasn't just like Alan's genius or whatever, much like, I guess none of them knew. I guess it was something only Alan knew, because I guess even Emily didn't know about this. I'm wondering, did Kindred know at all about this? It might have just been Alan's secret, because Kindred thought he was stealing it from Alan. But to be fair, Alan and Kindred did some very shady stuff in the past. Like, obviously, Alan talked about that. So I'm wondering, does this include some of that too? But I'm wondering, are they like synthetic aliens, like in a sense that they are kind of technology based, but they're aliens, or were they made on Earth and they're just or did they kill their creators all those years, like some time ago? Did they kill their creators and it's like, now we're in control, like kind of like a bit of like a Skynet Terminator type of thing of like we're growing and advancing? So that's why I'm kind of wondering, is that why they do the whole like destroying like tech businesses? Is it because like they're trying to start like essentially a machine revolution, or is it something else? Is it because they're trying to stop other companies from going too far, like the big ones from crossing that? Like I'm curious. And is Benny and Helen the only ones, or are there actually other ones? Are other members of Splinter the same way? I don't think so. They're probably regular people. It might only be Helen and Benny, which might means like they might be specifically, it's like your code came from us, making you inadvertently basically you're our daughter, which is so interesting too, because obviously Benny's spending so much. I mean, I guess it also makes sense in the grand scheme of things, where it all seemed like Benny was doing the whole thing of like playing devil's advocate, of being like, oh, like you have to think about what Alan's saying and stuff like that, because I think for him it was meant to be a way to probably test and see how far Joe was willing to go for Piper. There's even this thing, I forgot to talk about it, but obviously like Piper, she now realizes like Joe knew the entire time, but it's like, oh, I understand why you didn't tell me. But obviously, because she kept looking in the mirror, wondering, like, it's like, I'm not human, but I look human. Like, you're trying to see what's beneath the surface. And she admitted to Joe about the whole thing. She cut out her ear. It's like, right, I literally forgot about that. I mean, she literally did that, like, what, in episode 1 she did that? So I completely forgot about that, because let's not forget, Home Dude ended up stealing that, which I guess I thought was a tracker, but part of me wonders, because it was like, oh, it was something communicating her, being like, oh, go back, which part of me wonders, was that supposed to be like a limiter, and the moment that was removed, that's where her sentience was able to grow, or was it just purely a tracker? I think it was just purely a tracker, not unless it acted as both, because Home Dude was tracking it. That's why he found it in the sink, because he was looking for, that's where my brain starts, like I said, rattling off on the different lanes. That's a hell of a way to end off, this chunk of the season. Obviously, we're going to be waiting a while, because obviously Emergence is going on a bit of a break and isn't returning until January 7th. January 7th can't get here soon enough, because I got to be like, yo, what the hell is this all about? Now that we know, which is interesting, because now it's like, remember Alan making such a point to try and kill Piper, but now you probably understand why, like, Benny was willing to kind of be so on the other side of the situation, because he is what Piper is. So it's kind of interesting that he was so hell-bent on sending Benny to kill Piper, when in fact Benny was what Piper. It's kind of funny and interesting in the end. That's probably how Benny got the idea, because I was wondering about that, because I was like, Benny got knocked out and put in the trunk, yeah, he just got out. I was wondering, like, oh, did Alan leave him somewhere? Okay, we know that Alan knocked him out, but I thought Alan would have left him in the trunk, but maybe he just left him by the side of the road or something like that. Maybe at that point he called up Helen and was like, yeah, Alan's too much of an issue, take him out. I wonder, was Benny always planning to do that, or was it because Benny did it because Alan was so dead set on killing Piper? Maybe that's what really pushed him, like, because I feel like he could have done it at any point in time, but maybe that would have made Joe suspicious. Like I said, my mind is wondering about all of this. I am so curious to see where all this takes us when it returns. Once again, when Emergence returns on January 7th. It's wild. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.